Hey everybody, welcome to Tim's Tech Thoughts or V101 TV. We are live, but you're not watching this live because it's recorded at VeeamOn 2017. I've got some friends here with me. Matt Crape. Say hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Nigel Hinckley.
Hello, Nigel.
Go ahead and, what's your guys' Twitter?
I am Matt, that IT guy.
And I am vCenter Nerd.
All right. So we were going to talk a little bit just about community. So I'm a VMUG leader for Cincinnati user group. And Matt, you are?
I run a Veeam user group up in the southwest Ontario in Canada.
Excellent.
And I am one of the leaders in Houston. So we have 3 leaders. I am one of them.
Great. Hey. Well, I know I've been doing VMUG now as a leader about a year and a half, and I got into it just because I was going to VMUGs, and I just felt like it was time to give back, right? Like blogging, that's the same reason I went into blogging. Was it kind of the same thing for you guys? Like what got you wanting to be a leader or
Sure.
wanting to provide?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go first. So I enjoy helping people, plain and simple. It's blogging a little bit. And what I found is when I went to my first VMworld in 2015, all these people who I sort of found myself hanging around with and developing friendships with, they were all some sort of community leader. I mean, being VMworld, a lot of them were VMUG leaders. So shortly after that, I approached the local VMUG group and they didn't have any openings for leadership. So I sort of took things into my own hands. I said, I seem to know a heck of a lot about Veeam. I also want to learn a heck of a lot more about Veeam. So I started my user group, to help other folks, and it's been flourishing.
So same kind of story. I was interested in giving back. I didn't know how. I was also frightened at the same time. Like people were like, hey, she'll go blog or go help out with VMUG. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it became a situation where I went and there was no openings, but made 2 good friends in the Houston area that were running our group. Shout out to James Bowling and Ahmad Yonis. Both of them, kind of helped bring me to the forefront. So. And ironically, they both were separating spaces, different jobs, and I kind of fell into like, hey, guess what? You're next. You're the leader.
Nice.
So it worked out really well. And then from there, we've grown to have 2 other leaders help us out. So 2 guys that were helping on steering committee, which brought them on board to be leaders because they were a little bit more passionate, and it definitely helped out with our schedules too. So and I love that whole giving back. I mean, that's why, like you said, with blogging, it's just one of those things that at first I was afraid, like, who's going to listen to me and my little story or whatever. But
Or what if I'm wrong?
I forgot that I was the guy on the other side watching and going like, wow, this is super interesting. And that guy on stage is probably scared the same thing, thinking no one's going to listen to me. And I'm focused on it because he's like nailing the point that I had problems with. So it kind of brought it full circle for me. So
Well, it's almost like that imposter syndrome, right? Where you feel like you're not good enough to do what these other rock stars you see are doing.
Sure.
And then you go and meet them, and they feel the same way.
Yeah, and they're just people.
Yeah.
They're just regular dudes.
Yep.
And gals.
I think that's probably one of the greatest things is meeting all those people, right? With being a leader, I kind of have to be at every meeting, right? And
It's advised, yes.
it's advised.
We try to, yes.
But you get to have the different maybe SEs for the different vendors coming in, but also speakers from VMware, or just other community leaders come in and want to speak, and especially when it's time for the user con. So I found that it's a great way to meet some of these other people, get information and find out more from them, like
Absolutely.
how can I grow this user group, or how can I just grow myself personally?
Right.
Yep.
I think it's good. You definitely can learn from like watching them speak, or learning more about the product that may not be public, or something that you can kind of get a little edge up on. So there's a lot of benefit to that whole community, and then that person becomes your friend, and you guys are having dinner together at events, and you're seeing each other around the circuit of conferences. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing like more awesome than you go to a conference and you see someone from your hometown there, or, some sort of community person, and they recognize you, and they come up to you. It's like, wow, somebody kind of knows who I am. I mean, similarly here, I've been amazed this week. Like folks come up to me, it's like, oh, Matt, thanks, you wrote a post on such and such and it's helped me, or whatever. It's just a truly amazing feeling.
Yeah.
That totally blew me away. So that happened to me yesterday. From a guy from the UK, he came up. He's like, "Oh my God, I read your post and I retweet that." And he's like, "Holy, can I get a photo?" I'm like, "I'm not that cool. I'm not that cool, but thank you." I'm like, "Great to meet you in person." So I mean, that like to me it was like, oh, that's beneficial. One person read it.
Yep,
I'm cool. Let's move
absolutely.
on to the next thing.
It's very rewarding.
So it's very cool.
And I'm finding that's what, what I would consider the rock stars are. They're the ones who just started sooner, right?
Yeah.
Started blogging sooner, started being leaders for community or somehow giving back to the community.
Right.
So what would be your recommendation for somebody who's just starting off? They've attended maybe one VMUG or Veeam user group meeting, but they want to get more involved.
I would say just start going with it. VMUGs and even my user group are always looking for people to present, and all too often people say, I've got nothing to present. So I sort of turn that around sometimes. I say, you know what, like, it doesn't have to be something big and fancy. Maybe even just take a small part of a project and why did you do these design decisions? Or another thing I do is I say, you know what, if you have a problem you're trying to solve, present it,
Exactly.
Here's what we're trying to do, and you've got a room full of people. That's a lot of brain power. Help out, so you don't need to be some sort of genius or anything. One of the big things I had to get over when I was doing one of my first presentations at my first Veeam user group, because I had no one lined up, was, what if I'm wrong? What if someone calls me out on something? And I quickly realized that if I'm wrong, I can just say, okay, sorry, I'm wrong. And if I don't know the answer, well, hey, give me your info and reach out. I'll find out the answer for you.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, that's a big fear, and that's what I had at the beginning. Was like I didn't want to be fact checked, and I wasn't an expert on maybe what I was talking about, and maybe I missed that key point. But now I'm like, okay, well I got that wrong. Let me go figure it out, or they'll take it offline. Definitely, those things. You don't have to be the rock star god. You don't work for that vendor. Most of the time when you're talking about that vendor, so you may not know as much as the vendor employee does. But I think going back to your point, how to get involved, definitely go to the meetings. The sign-ups are free. A lot of the meetings are held, quarterly, so it's easy to kind of, get involved. And maybe if it's even just like asking, like if you want more than just like attending and listening and watching, the show, or doing a fun event with the team. Try to help out. Like we have issues where things aren't set up on time, or we need someone to check in, like, hey, take the laptop, go check everybody in. Those things are helpful to leaders, and sometimes we forget about that and we say, oh, I'll get it, and then I'm also going to go help the guy with the mic and the other cable. And so like those extra hands, that's still community. You're still helping out, and I'm going to remember those guys and be like, hey, he helped last time, so why don't you come, you got some ideas. And then going back to Matt's point, customers, if you're listening, we want to hear from you. Like those are the best stories, and people engage really, really well with customer stories.
Yeah.
So
I think people think that, they're just doing what everybody else is doing, right?
Yeah.
And nobody wants to hear about that. But really, every place is different. You're not doing what everybody else is doing. You might have something very similar, but you may have run into problems that somebody else hasn't yet.
Yep.
But once they do, they'll remember, hey.
And it might not even be a technical problem. It might be a matter of, we've got a business process, and that's why we can't use this standard technology. Here's how we solved it.
And I like the fact of getting those, like maybe the shy person or someone that I know he's working on that and he's got a problem because he's mentioned it, and then, okay, Tim's here and he's really good at that.
Yes.
Go talk to Tim, like he knows that stuff. He probably can help out. So it's just putting people together and like building small little pods of that community to hopefully grow it a little bit bigger. So
and that's the big thing too, right? Contacts. I know I've met a couple people here who are looking for another job, and it's just nice that they can have all these different people that they can be like, hey, do you know of anything? Or quite the opposite actually. Someone will say, hey, I'm looking for this position. Who do you know of? Because it's almost like a built-in resume.
Yep, absolutely.
I could say that that's how I'm in the position that I'm in now, just through community. So knowing some folks that just said, hey, there's a door open or there's a rec open, call this guy, see if you fit in.
Excellent.
And some things that you don't find online or you can't search for, so it's nice to have that network. So
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great, guys. Thanks for joining me here. Again, we're at VeeamOn 2017. Be sure to click subscribe, and then also in the description, follow both of these nice gentlemen, and they'll appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.